Once more, the Tian hegemony continues its invasion into Arkanian space. The Arkanian fleet flees, knowing that it stands no match against the Tian forces. Already, one world has been completely engulfed by the forces of the Tian hegemony, and several more are prime targets. Even Arkania itself may potentially fall, as the massive fleet continues its advance. The starbase located at Arkania is one of the stronger bases located within Arkanian territory. Defended by 2 XQ platforms, as well as several other defenses, the platform begins with the launch of several fighters against the incoming forces. However, the Arkanian fleet has already abandoned this location, as the Tian hegemony brings forth 4 entire fleets into the system. The Empire, while no longer focused on the Carillions, continues its own war against Confederates and other forces. Thus, any manner of alliance or other forces arriving to save the Arkanians is out of reach at this time. With an explosion, one of the XQ platforms falls, and now another. The starbase is the only one remaining, and even then, it may not be enough against the onslaught. The starbase falls, and with it, the various trade routes throughout Arkanian space. Arkania is defenseless, and while there are ground forces on the world, they very well may not be enough. As the Tian hegemony forces flee, the Arkanians move to take back the starbase that they just lost. However, they must move quickly, as Tian forces could soon return. In the distance, distortions in hyperspace appear. Undoubtedly, the Tian forces have come. The station is liberated, but it is a trap. Indeed, the Tian forces are on their way. As much as it would be nice to continue with control over the starbase, the Arkanian forces must flee. The loss of the fleet will mean certain doom for them, but if they can defend at their bastion over at Uvuy Xen, they will perhaps survive. Indeed, even the Doran are sending some forces to assist. Unfortunately for the Doran fleet, they ran directly into battle with the Tian hegemony. Their forces would undoubtedly be destroyed if they remained here. And already they lose some of their carriers and other ships. The Tian fleets may in fact move towards the bastion that the Arkanians have. However, their sensors detect the number of ships and other defenders located there, and decide to pull back. This may present an opportunity for the Arkanians, but they will have to be cautious. An encounter with the Tian hegemony fleets would be disaster without aid from the Empire. Another opportunity presents itself as the main Tian hegemony fleet moves back towards its own home space. The Turoik hegemony, part of the Galactic Empire and one of the key allies to the Arkanians in the past, have been causing a measure of trouble for the Tians. In fact, even their capital world has been taken, along with its shipyards. So now the Arkanians will move to take back the Parav sector, and particularly to free Arkania, located there. While the Arkanian fleet comes into the system to take on the starbase, they also focus on the transport ships that are located nearby. Destruction of those transport ships will secure Arkania for the time being. Already, a second world has been invaded by the Tian forces, and the loss of Arkania would present a terrible blow that would prevent victory being achieved in this war. The starbase falls, and now the Arkanian forces can focus primarily on the transports, destroying them and gaining a small victory for Arkania in this war. If the Turoik hegemony can continue their own progress, they might just find victory here, and more importantly, for Chantharos Turoik, gain access to a world right near Korriban. Within occupied space, the Imperial Starfleet finally starts to aid the Arkanians against the Tian hegemony. 3 Star Destroyers have entered the system and begin to engage with one of the former bastions of the Arkanians. A strong space station, the Star Destroyers may just be able to win this fight, so long as they rely more on their fighters rather than directly engaging the station. Volleys of turbolasers and ion cannons pummel the station as the Star Destroyers enter point-blank range. However, the station has several weapons capable of doing significant damage to the Star Destroyers, particularly a volley of proton torpedoes. A total disaster. 3 Imperial Star Destroyers destroyed, with little to show for it. The Imperial commanders, if they had survived, would have likely faced some manner of retribution. Perhaps it is greater to fall in battle than face the wrath of Darth Vader. The war with the Tian hegemony continued for some time, with some back and forth between the Arkanians and their enemies. However, as the war ended between the Empire and the Confederate remnants, the Arkanians were able to gain access to an ancient Lucrehulk battleship. Furthermore, the Tian hegemony made a critical error, splitting up their fleets. A single fleet moved to take back Arkania, which gave the opportunity for the Arkanians to move against them. The Lucrehulk, as well as the rest of the Arkanian fleets, moved to do as much damage as possible to this Tian hegemony fleets while they could. As their ships began to fall, Tian ships tried to escape. Some did, others were utterly destroyed. But indeed, this battle would prove victorious for the forces of the Arkanian Dominion. Victory, or at least as much victory as possible. Now that the Tian ships had fled, it was time to free the rest of Arkanian space.